In this 6-part tutorial, we'll be making and animating a simple design figurine. White ball-headed design figurines are popular with designers because they are bland. They have no facial features, but combined with props and accessories, they can be used to illustrate any concept. We will model the figurine, rig it with an armature, create a library of poses, and animate a simple walk cycle. Please note, this tutorial is compatible with Blender version 2.7.5 or greater only, because we use the Symmetrize feature that is new in this version. Okay, let's get started with part 1, modeling the body of the figurine. Open a new file from the File menu. Switch to the Cycles render engine. In Preferences, Interface pane, turn on Auto Perspective for orthogonal projection in top, front and side views. The 3D cursor should be in the center. If you move it by mistake, reposition it with Shift-S cursor to center. Select the lamp, press X and delete it. Select the camera and press H to hide it. Turn off the widget, we won't use it. Set Snap Element from the pop-up menu in the header to Vertex if it isn't set so already. In Outliner, rename the default cube Figurine Base. Save the file to avoid losing any work. Tab to Edit Mode, then with all vertices selected, press G followed by Z, Enter 4 to move the mesh up. We will use box and polygon modeling to create the basic shape of the figurine, starting from the head. Press Ctrl up arrow to enlarge the view, then numpad 7 for top view. Switch to face selection mode. Select the top face of the box. Press Shift-S cursor to select it, then A twice to select all, set pivot point to 3D cursor, and press S to scale, enter 0.38, then G followed by Y, enter -0.01. Select the bottom face and press G followed by Z, enter 0.03 to move it up a little. We'll be making such small adjustments as we go along for correct proportions and a hint of the default pose for the figurine. With the bottom face still selected, press I to inset, enter 0.21. Press G followed by Z, enter -0.04 to move the inset face down for the start of the neck. Press E to extrude, enter 0.12, moving the extruded face down on the Z axis. Set pivot point to median, then press S to scale, enter 0.95, tapering the neck slightly. Press E to extrude, enter 0.043, then S to scale, enter 1.75. Now again S to scale, followed by X, enter 1.2. Switch to Edge Select mode, select the edge on the left, like so, then press E followed by X, enter -0.22. This is the shoulder area and we need to shape it a little. With the edge selected, press S to scale, enter 0.84, then G followed by Y, enter 0.017. We're now ready to create the body. We'll work on its right half, that is, left in the viewport, and we'll then mirror it to the other side on the X-axis. Switch to face selection and select the bottom face under the neck. Press X and choose faces to delete the face. Switch back to edge selection and Alt-click the bottom loop, then Shift-click the leftmost edge as well to complete the ring of selected edges. Press E to extrude, followed by Z, enter -1.9. Press numpad 1 for front view. Now press Ctrl R and set an edge loop going down at 0 on the x-axis. Press Z for wireframe shading. Then Shift S, choose Cursor to Center. Switch to Vertex Select mode. Press A to deselect all, then B for Selection Box, and select the vertices on the right of the new loop. Then press X and choose Vertices to delete them. Reduce the view with Ctrl down arrow, and in Modifiers panel add a mirror modifier. Enlarge the view again with Ctrl up arrow. Select the two middle vertices in the bottom loop and press G followed by X, enter 0.3 to move them close to the center. Then shift-click the two vertices next to them and press F to create a polygon there. Now press S to scale, followed by Y, enter 1.15, then G followed by Y, enter 0.036 to move the vertices back a bit. Select the two vertices on the bottom left and move them up with G followed by Z, enter 0.22, and to the right slightly with G followed by X, enter 0.01. Then press S to scale, followed by Y, enter 1.4, and move the vertices forward a little with G followed by Y, enter minus 0.011. Now Alt-click to select the bottom left loop these two vertices belong to, then press E to extrude, followed by Z, enter -1. With 3D cursor still in the center, set pivot point to 3D cursor, then press S to scale, followed by Z, enter 0 to move the loop to the floor. Press F to fill the loop. The shape of this bottom face should be rectangular, so select the front vertex closest to the 3D cursor. Press G followed by Y to start moving the vertex, and hold down the Control key, move the mouse pointer to the other front vertex, and click to snap to the same Y location. Repeat on the back vertex closest to the cursor. Press G followed by Y and snap to the other vertex at the back. Switch to face selection, select the bottom face we created, then press Ctrl and comma on the keyboard for median pivot point, and S to scale followed by Y, enter 0.63. Then again S to scale followed by X, enter 0.77. Now move it with G followed by X, enter -0.03, and G followed by Y, enter 0.07. Press Ctrl R and drag a new loop on the leg all the way to the bottom. Then press G followed by Z, enter 0.25 to move it up. We are creating the foot. Switch to face selection and select the bottom front face. Press E to extrude, followed by Y, enter -0.51. Switch to edge selection and Alt-click the loop around the ankle. Press S to scale, followed by X, enter 0.81. Select the back edge of the loop, press G followed by Y, enter -0.014. Then add a new loop on the leg with Ctrl R, enter -0.95, placing it just above the ankle. Press S to scale, followed by Z, enter 0 to level it horizontally. Select the back edge of this new loop. Press G followed by Y, and holding down the Control key, snap it to the edge below. Then select that edge below, and press G followed by Z, enter -0.05 to move it down, creating more space for deformation in the area. To finish the foot, set a loop on the forward projecting part with Ctrl R, enter 0.9. Next, for the knee, place a new loop on the leg with Ctrl R, enter -0.117, then level it with S followed by Z, enter 0. Enlarge it slightly with S followed by X, enter 1.03. Let's also make it rectangular. Switch to vertex selection and select the central back vertex. Press G followed by Y and with Ctrl key snap to the vertex on the other side. Repeat for the central front vertex, G followed by Y, and hold down Ctrl key to snap to the opposite front vertex. Switch to edge selection, select the back edge of the loop and move it forward with G followed by Y, enter -0.034. To create a knee joint, set another loop on the leg above with Ctrl R, enter -0.84. That's the leg done. Next, place a new loop on the body with Ctrl R, enter 0.5. Then flatten it with S to scale followed by Z, enter 0. Select the side edge of the loop and move it with G followed by X, enter -0.08. Then scale it with S to scale, enter 0.9. We can now make the arm. Switch to face select mode and press Z for solid shading. Select the top side face above the new loop. Press E to extrude, followed by X, enter -0.675, then level with S to scale, followed by X, enter 0. Then S to scale, followed by Z, enter 0.6, and again S to scale, followed by Y, enter 0.69. And move it a little with G followed by Z, enter 0.006, and G followed by Y, enter 0.008. For the forearm, press E to extrude, followed by X, enter -0.656. Then S to scale, followed by Z, enter 0.7. And S to scale, followed by Y, enter 0.8. Then move it with G followed by Y, enter -0.013. Add a loop on the forearm for the elbow with Ctrl R, enter 0.8. Finally the shoulder. Add a loop on the upper arm with Ctrl R, enter 0.69. Press numpad 1 for front view and press R to rotate, enter -13. Rotate the viewport a little and select the top edge of the loop. Press Shift S and choose Cursor to selected. Press the period key on the keyboard for 3D cursor pivot point and then Z for wireframe shading. Select the bottom edge of the loop, then S to scale, followed by Shift Y, enter 0.9. Press Shift S and choose Cursor to center. Lastly, switch to face selection, select the side face at the end of the forearm, press X and delete the face. That's the arm done. Next we will shape the torso. Switch to edge selection mode, select the center front edge on the chest, like so, and press G followed by Y, enter -0.15. Switch to vertex selection, select the left vertex of the edge, press G followed by Y, enter 0.016. Select the central vertex above the chest and press G followed by Z, enter -0.049, then G followed by Y, enter -0.028. Rotate the view and select the counterpart of this vertex on the back, then press G followed by Z, enter -0.048 to move it down. Press Z for solid shading. Switch to edge selection and select the next edge down on the back, press G followed by Y, enter 0.06. Set a new loop underneath with Ctrl R, enter -0.55. Select the side edge of the new loop and move it with G followed by X, enter 0.022, narrowing the waist. Select the front central edge of the loop and move it forward with G followed by Y, enter minus 0.051. Select the back central edge and move it with G followed by Y, enter 0.05. Next, a new loop for the chest cage. With Ctrl R, enter minus 0.38. Select the front central edge of the new loop, then press Ctrl E and choose Edge Slide from the menu, enter 0.56. Move the edge forward with G followed by Y, enter minus 0.01. Select the back central edge and press Ctrl E, choose Edge Slide, enter 0.44. Then move it with G followed by Y, enter minus 0.017. One more loop under the chest with Ctrl R, enter minus 0.042, and no movements are needed. Finally, just to be sure, with 3D cursor in the center, select the central loop dividing the figure with Alt-click, switch to 3D cursor pivot point if it isn't set already, and press S to scale followed by X, enter 0. Tap to Object Mode. Reduce the view with Ctrl down arrow. In Object Properties panel, Display pane, check Wire and draw all edges. We are ready to create the hands, which will be made separately and attached to the figure after the first level of subdivision. Before we go on, let's take a look at what we've done so far. We've created a base cage from which we will create a subdivided copy for actual use as the figurine. Some work will be required after subdivision. Joints are of 2 edge loops each: shoulder, elbow, knee, ankle, toes. A loop is missing at the top of the thighs and the ends of the forearms at the hands. These must be added after subdivision for the correct topology, and the central loop will be deleted after mirroring. Now press Ctrl 1 on the keyboard to add a level 1 subdivision modifier. Notice that the feet are too rounded, as is the ankle, and the center of the figurine at the top of the legs is too rounded as well. Rather than set new loops in our tightly controlled cage, we will sharpen the edges with creases. Press N for Properties, tap to Edit Mode, and press Z for wireframe shading. Select the edges at the top of the leg and in Properties set Mean Crease to 1. Repeat for the slanting ankle loop and the outer edges of the bottom of the foot. Tap to Object Mode and press Z for solid shading. You can see that the edges are now sharp where needed. OK, we can move on. Reduce the view with Ctrl down arrow. Duplicate the object with Shift D and in Outliner rename the duplicate Design Figurine. Hide the original figurine base by clicking its eye icon in the outliner and also disable its render icon. With the Design Figurine selected, apply the Mirror modifier. Tap to Edit Mode and Alt-click the central loop. Then press X and choose Edge Loops to delete it. Tap to Object Mode and apply the Subsurf modifier. Press Numpad 1 for front view, tap to Edit Mode again, and switch to Median Pivot Point. Press Z for wireframe shading and switch to vertex selection. The head is slightly elongated, let's make it rounder. Press A once or twice to deselect all, then B for box selection and select the head vertices as shown. Press Shift Alt S, enter 1, then S to scale followed by Z, enter 0.95 and G followed by Z, enter 0.01. Now it will help us to have mirroring again. Press A to deselect all, then press B and select vertices on the right of the mesh. Press X and delete the vertices. In Modifiers panel, add a mirror modifier. Next we tighten the knee joint. Alt-click the bottom loop of the 3, press Ctrl E, choose Edge Slide and enter 0.22. Select the top loop of the 3, press Ctrl E, Edge Slide, enter -0.3. Alt-click to select the top ankle loop, Ctrl E for the menu, Edge Slide, enter -0.7. Press Z for solid shading. Select the front loop of the toes joint with Alt-click. Press Ctrl E, Edge Slide, enter 0.3. Add the loop on the top of the thigh with Ctrl R, enter -0.51. Let's add some roundness to the thigh and the shin. Alt-click the loop in the middle of the thigh to select it, then press S to scale, enter 1.05. Select the middle shin loop with Alt-click and press S to scale, enter 1.05. Then press G followed by Y, enter 0.01. With Alt-click, select the inner loop on the shoulder and Shift-click to select the vertex left unselected. Then Ctrl E, Edge Slide, enter -0.2. Select the outer shoulder loop with Alt-click and with Ctrl E, slide it 0.2. Alt-click to select the inner elbow loop. Press Ctrl E, Edge Slide, enter 0.15. Select the outer elbow loop with Alt-click, Ctrl E, Edge Slide, enter 0.15. The hand joint should be tight, set it with Ctrl R, enter -0.8. Finally, to sharpen the bottom of the foot, add a new loop there with Ctrl R, -0.5. Tap to Object Mode. Press Ctrl 2 on the keyboard to add a level 2 subdivision modifier and admire your work. That's the body done. On to part 2, where we create the hand and finish modeling the figurine.